Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, today on the Dungeon Dive, we are taking a look at Zogar's Revenge, another game from Jason Glover of Gnome Games. Gnome Games and Jason Glover, the designer of things like Iron Helm and Tin Helm and Gates. So let's read a little bit about Zogar's Revenge. This is a game available from the Game Crafter, and it is in a nice, small, compact box. Okay, Zogar and his minions sought refuge deep in the Black Warrens beneath the great city of Otensphere. It was not long before the wicked wizard began his plotting against the humans above. His first order was to steal the crown from the king to create panic in the city. His plan worked. Now you must enter Zogar's vile lair in an attempt to recapture the crown and restore order above. Can you sneak in and back out again before Zogar's gaze captures you? Zogar's Revenge is a solo play game designed to be played alone in a dimly lit room. Okay, Zogar's Revenge. Now, I'm going to say something, and I don't mean this in a derogatory manner. This game reminds me of a mobile app game, something you would play on iOS or on Android. And I actually think that it would work really well as an app game. Maybe this could be Jason Glover's first transition from tabletop to app or something, because I would really like to play this game on my phone. It would be really snappy and fun. Zogar's Revenge is a basic kind of puzzle dungeon crawl with some memory elements and a little bit of a efficiency puzzle in how you move around the dungeon. So what you're trying to do is you will be entering the dungeon at the ladder, and you want to navigate these tiles. And a lot of these tiles, well, all of the tiles are double-sided. Some of them have the same thing on the back. Some of them have different things on the back. At the beginning of the game, you will set up, this is the basic setup. You'll have the ladder in the middle, the 2 fires in the corners, or the 4 fires in the corners, and then randomly flipping and flopping these tiles to lay them down in a grid. There are also more advanced setups that you can use when you get really good at this setup. So you will be playing as a hero. There are 2 heroes in the game. It's just art. We have the female hero and the male hero. The female hero seems to be the canonical hero, so we will play as the female hero here. You also have some combat tiles over here. You have health. You have Zogar's gaze here, and then you have treasure chest tokens and the MacGuffin, the iron crown or the golden crown that you are trying to find. So you will enter the dungeon at the ladder, and your first goal is to extinguish the fires. When you extinguish the fires, that reveals the chamber where the crown is hidden. Then what you want to do is you want to work back to the center, grab the crown. You can take the crown for 10 victory points at the end of the game. And then you need to light the fires back, and then that will reveal the ladder. And then you need to go to the ladder in order to escape with the crown. There are 2 ways to lose the game. You can lose all of your health tokens, or you can gain all of these Zogar's gaze tokens, or the spot tokens. If you gain all of these, I think there are 14, then Zogar has found you within his dungeon and he has destroyed you. The way you gain these is by landing on eyeballs in certain situations, usually while you are exploring the dungeon or in combat or from picking up treasure. When you land on a treasure chest, you can randomly draw one of the treasure tokens. And let's take a look at some of these to see some of the stuff you can find here. Okay, so there are a whole bunch of different kinds of treasure. I'm trying to find good examples of all of them here. Most of them are good. There are a few bad ones. I'm trying to find one of the traps here. I think there's only a few traps. There's a couple eyeballs. Where's a trap? Come on, trap. There's a trap. Okay, so the things you can find gold or silver and bronze. These are various coins that are worth victory points at the end of the game. You can find Zogar's gaze, these spot tokens. So you've made too much noise. You've delved too deep into the dungeon, stealing his treasure, and thus Zogar is looking for you. You can find weapons, and weapons will add 1 to your combat total. You can find traps, and traps will damage you for 1. You can find healing potions, and those will heal 1 point of health. And you can find these crosses, and these crosses you can discard to ward off a gaze token, to ward off one unit of being spotted. So those you can hold on to and use them when you need to. So let's shuffle these back up. Now, moving through the dungeon is a little bit different depending on if the 4 fires are lit or not. When the 4 fires are lit, you are moving from one tile to the next orthogonally, and you know what is coming up next because there is light in the dungeon. So you will move on to a tile and you will face the tile that you know. When you leave that tile flips over and possibly becomes something else. Once you have extinguished all 4 of the fires, thus putting them out, then the dungeon is in darkness and the crown is revealed. Then, when you move on to a tile, you don't know what it is. You have to face what is on the opposite side. So that's kind of where some of the memory play comes into, where you have to start trying to remember the things that are on the other side. Again, some of the tokens have the same thing on the side. Some of them are different. When you land on an enemy, you will face off against that enemy in combat. And combat is very interesting in this game. I've never seen a system like this before. Over here, we have our combat tokens, 3, 6, 5, and 4. On the other side of the 3, we have a 2. On the other side of the 4, we have a 1. And on the other side of the 6 and the 5, we have a spot token. You start the game with your character token on the 3. So let's play a sample turn. So I'm going to leave the ladder. When you leave the ladder, it doesn't flip over. So I'm going to land on this 3 strength goblin. Now I need to kill the goblin. And to do so, I need to move my character token onto one of the orthogonal values of my attack. So I will move that to a 5. The 3 flips over and becomes a 2. And I do 5 points of damage to the goblin, killing it because it only has a strength of 3. Hey, great. Now you don't get anything for killing enemies. You only prevent them from doing damage back to you. So let's continue moving. I want to move down to this fire first. So I'm going to move on to this treasure. Now this goblin token here, it flips over, but it's the same goblin on that side. Now I've landed on this treasure chest. There is an eyeball icon. So Zogar has started to find me. He has sensed my presence in his dungeon. He knows I'm after the crown and his treasure. So we had 1 point. I am 1 step closer to losing the game. But I also get to pick a treasure. So let's pick something good here, hopefully. And we get 1 victory point. So this is kind of a score chasing game. You want to keep track of your score and try to do better from game to game. So we faced off against this treasure. Now we have 2 choices, both goblins. Let's go to this goblin here. So this treasure chest flips over and it becomes a treasure without a gaze icon. But now I need to face off against this goblin. I am on the 5. It has a strength of 3. I will move to the 4, revealing this eyeball. But I have killed that goblin. Now, the next time I need to go to this eyeball, Zogar will sense my presence and I will gain another spot token. So this is showing kind of like how you're making too much noise fighting in the dungeon, and Zogar is hearing you and he is pinpointing your location. So let's now move down. You land on the fire and that puts the fire out. The fire does not relight when you leave. The fire triggers when you land on it. But now this goblin here flips over and it becomes a Cyclops. The Cyclops are the most powerful enemies in the game. Okay, so I have extinguished 1 fire. I can face off against a Cyclops, and that might be a good thing to do right now. So I'll move north here and I'll move my combat token onto the 6. Revealing the 1 underneath the 4, but I have done enough damage of 6 to bypass that Cyclops. Let's continue moving north. I land on this treasure chest, so now this flips over again, and that becomes the Goblin 3. But now I need to remember, there is a powerful Cyclops on the other side of that. So now I have this treasure chest. I do take another spot token, 1 step closer to losing the game, but I also get another treasure here, and it's another victory point. Okay, let's fast forward. Let's say that I have extinguished all of the fires. And once I have extinguished all of the fires, that reveals the hidden chamber where the golden crown is. But now that it's dark in the dungeon, now I don't know which tile I am moving on to. Now when I pick a direction to move, I don't face the face up threat, I actually face what is underneath it. And that could be good or bad. And that's where the memory play comes into it. So I find another treasure and I will pick that, another victory point. And my goal now is to get back to the crown there. Then I can take the crown, which is worth 10 victory points at the end of the game. I can work my way back to the corners to light these up again in order to reveal the ladder and then move back to the ladder and escape and win the game and count up my victory points. So it's a pretty simple game, but it is fun. There are some interesting elements in how you have to flip tiles depending on if the fires are lit or not. I really like this combat quadrant here. These 4 combat chits are really interesting. I've never seen a system like this. You can really kind of plan out your combat and make sure that you're able to get to that 6 and make sure that 6 is revealed in time in order to face off against one of the Cyclops. And I haven't won yet, but it's been really close. You know, I'm almost to the point where I can win a game. And I think the economy of movement, of action, of combat, of treasure, of the spot tokens and the health token, it's a really tight economy. I think Jason Glover is really good at creating these kinds of games that have a lot of little simple mechanisms with a tight economy and interesting, difficult choices for the players to make. But yeah, Zogar's Revenge is pretty cool. If you're looking for another really small box game, then I highly recommend Zogar's Revenge. It is a game that, remember, this is from the Game Crafter, and it is all tokens. So you will spend a lot of time cleaning the edges off of these tokens because all of the Game Crafter tokens, they are laser etched. And so because of the heat, you will get a lot of soot on all of your tokens. So just know that when you open up this box, it's going to smell like a campfire. And you will have to use a few paper towels to clean off your game before you can play it. But I've had a pretty good time with Zogar's Revenge, and I think it's another good kind of travel game that I can just throw in my bag when I'm heading out of town for the weekend or something like that. So, all right, you guys, well, hope you enjoyed this look at Zogar's Revenge, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.